Cueva, Los Angeles tragedy. You're about to hear one of the most chilling stories of cave exploration gone wrong. This is the tragedy of Cueva, Los Angeles. In the late 1960s, a small group of friends set out to explore this remote cave system in Mexico. They weren't professionals, just young adventurers excited by the mystery of the underground. The cave was notorious for its tight, twisting passages and sudden drops, but that only made it more appealing. As the group descended deeper, they entered a narrow shaft. One of the cavers slipped and became wedged between two walls of rock. At first, the others thought they could pull him free. But the more they tried, the tighter the stone seemed to press against his chest. He could barely breathe. Panic set in. Hours passed as they tried ropes, levers, anything to shift his body. But nothing worked. The cave was too cramped, the rock too unforgiving. Rescue teams eventually arrived, yet even with their equipment, the angles of the passage made extraction impossible. Trapped in total darkness, crushed by the weight of the earth itself, the young man slowly suffocated. His friends had to listen helplessly as his voice grew weaker, until finally it was silent. The body was never recovered. To this day, he remains entombed in Cueva, Los Angeles. And for many, it stands as a haunting reminder of how unforgiving caves can be, where one wrong step can mean a death both terrifying and inescapable. Roaring River Cave. Deep in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri lies a cave system known as Roaring River Cave. For decades, it's been a place of mystery, an underground labyrinth where cold, rushing water carves tunnels through solid rock. Divers and explorers have always been drawn to it, but it's also one of the deadliest caves in America. In the summer of 1979, a group of experienced divers set out to explore a submerged passage of Roaring River. The water was crystal clear, but the cave itself was a twisting, unpredictable maze. What started as an exciting dive quickly became a nightmare. One diver entered a narrow underwater tunnel, hoping to push further than anyone had before. But halfway through, his fins stirred up silt from the cave floor. In seconds, the water went from clear to pitch black. Visibility dropped to nothing. He couldn't see his gauges. He couldn't find the line back out. Panic set in. Disoriented and running low on air, he began clawing along the walls, trying to feel his way to safety. But Roaring River is merciless. Its passages tighten suddenly, its currents pulling in unexpected directions. Every movement wasted precious oxygen. Above the surface, his team waited, watching bubbles rise and then stop. When rescuers finally attempted to reach him, they discovered the awful truth. He had wedged himself into a constricted part of the tunnel, his tank scraping against the ceiling. Out of air, trapped in total blackness, he drowned just a few feet from open water. His body was recovered days later, after dangerous efforts by other divers. The story shook the community and cemented Roaring River's reputation as a death trap. Even today, signs warn visitors of the dangers. The tragedy of Roaring River Cave is more than just a cautionary tale. It's a brutal reminder that nature doesn't forgive mistakes. In places like these, where light cannot reach and the walls seem to close in, one wrong move can cost everything. Dudu Cave tragedy. In the Dominican Republic, there's a place called Dudu Cave. To tourists, it looks like paradise. Crystal blue water, ringed by limestone cliffs, a sinkhole that feels like a natural swimming pool. But beneath the surface lies a labyrinth of flooded tunnels. For divers, it's a temptation that has claimed more than one life. In 2009, two experienced cave divers decided to explore Dudu's underwater passages. Both were certified, both confident. They descended together, carrying heavy tanks of compressed air and bright lights to guide the way. At first, the dive was smooth. They swam through breathtaking caverns, beams of light cutting across rock formations that had taken thousands of years to form. But as they pressed deeper, the tunnels grew tighter, and the route more confusing. One diver drifted too far from the guideline, the only lifeline that marks the way back to the surface. In an instant, he was lost. The cave turned into a maze of identical chambers, every turn looking the same. His breathing grew faster. Every exhale clouded the water with bubbles. His partner tried desperately to find him, but visibility collapsed in the stirred-up silt. Inside Dudu Cave, minutes feel like seconds when your air is running out. The lost diver's tank ran dry, and there in the silent darkness, he drowned, trapped in a cavern that felt more like a tomb. It took recovery teams hours to locate his body. The effort was so dangerous that some sections of the cave remain unexplored to this day. The Dudu Cave tragedy is a stark reminder: beauty can be deceiving. What looks like paradise on the surface can hide one of the most painful ways to die, alone, in the crushing silence of an underwater cave with no way out. Diepolder Sink 2. Hidden in the forests of Florida lies a cave system so deep and dangerous that only a handful of divers are ever allowed inside. It's called Diepolder Sink 2. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a pond in the woods, but beneath the surface is a vertical shaft that plunges hundreds of feet straight down, one of the deepest underwater caves in the United States. In the early 1990s, a group of highly skilled divers entered Diepolder Sink 2 to push its limits. These weren't amateurs. They had advanced training, special gas mixtures, and powerful lights. Still, in a place like this, even experts are just one mistake away from disaster. One diver, determined to explore a new section of the cave, dropped lower and lower into the abyss. At those depths, the pressure is crushing, and the slightest error in gas management can mean death. He strayed just far enough to lose sight of the guideline, the one cord that marks the path back to the surface. The water was clear, but the cave seemed endless. He spun in circles, searching desperately for the line. His breathing grew faster, burning through his supply of air. Panic took over, and in the vast, silent darkness of Diepolder, he realized he was trapped. His partners later found him, motionless, far from the exit. Despite their best efforts, the depth and danger made recovery nearly impossible. It took hours of risky work to bring his body back up through the narrow shaft. The tragedy of Diepolder Sink 2 shook the diving community. Even today, entry is strictly limited, reserved only for the most advanced cave divers in the world. It stands as a grim reminder that in these underwater cathedrals, beauty is matched only by risk, and one wrong move can turn a breathtaking dive into one of the most painful deaths imaginable. Wachee Springs tragedy. Florida's Wachee Springs is famous for its crystal blue waters and its mermaid shows. But hidden beneath the surface lies a vast and treacherous cave system, one that has claimed more than a few lives. In 1990, two young divers decided to push into the spring's underwater passages. They weren't professionals, but they were fearless, convinced they could handle the maze below. At first, the descent was beautiful, light streaming through the water, the entrance glowing like an underwater cathedral. But as they swam deeper, the tunnels narrowed. They lost their guideline, the single rope that shows the way back. Silt rose from the cave floor, clouding everything in a choking darkness. Their air began to run out. The divers thrashed, searching desperately for a way up, but Wachee is unforgiving. One of them found the surface. The other never did. His body was later recovered deep inside the cave, wedged in a passage that had become his tomb. The Wachee Springs tragedy became a stark warning. These caves are not tourist attractions. They're deadly. One moment of overconfidence can turn paradise into the most painful kind of prison, where light, air, and life itself slip away forever. Paradise Springs tragedy. In Ocala, Florida, there's a diving spot known as Paradise Springs. From the surface, it looks peaceful, just a calm pool surrounded by trees. But beneath that still water lies a vertical cave system that drops more than 100 feet into darkness. For some divers, it's irresistible. For others, it's fatal. In 1992, a father and his teenage son entered Paradise Springs together. The plan was simple, a recreational dive, nothing extreme. At first, everything went smoothly. They marveled at the light beams piercing through the clear water, drifting deeper into the cavern. But then, they went too far. The guideline meant to mark the safe route was ignored. They pushed beyond the limits of their training. As they descended, their lights cut across warning signs posted for divers who don't belong that deep. The father, confident, kept going. His son followed. Soon, the walls closed in. The cave sloped downward, and silt clouded the water with every kick of a fin. Visibility vanished. They tried to turn back, but in the chaos, the son became separated. His tank ran low. Panic set in. He thrashed against the rock, desperate for air. By the time his father found him, it was too late. Rescue divers later recovered his body from the depths. The site was forever marked by tragedy, a brutal reminder that even the most inviting waters can hide lethal dangers. The Paradise Springs tragedy proves a hard truth about cave diving. It doesn't matter how beautiful the water looks on the surface. One wrong choice below can trap you in silence, darkness, and the most painful death imaginable.